What is up, everyone? We're back yet again for the Legends of Runeterra weekly tournament, brought to you by not just Runeterra Academy this time, but we're also sponsored by Metafy, and this will be the continuing sponsorship throughout the rest of the season. But without that, we're gonna get straight into it. I'm Domcast. I'm joined by TDS again this week, or this side now. I was on the other side
Yeah.
last week. With Aikado, but no, we're back with TDS, and we're back with what could be an insanely hype week. I mean, last week we had the new expansion had just come out. People were still testing the waters, but now it's already been a week, and people have already came up with a ton of busted crap. What are we looking for, TDS?
You were talking about last week. I think a lot of people were already excited and utilizing a lot of the cannon. I apparently heard that it was so broken that it dominated for 3 days until it was patched. I haven't played as much as possible, but I've been interested in watching the potential with the cannon still because I think that it is still viable enough. We have a couple of new decks that have been rising. Obviously, we have the clear cut favorites from old, and I think highlighting particularly too that we are going to maybe see in the upcoming match. Starting from the team from one of the two teams from what am I with his Tryndamere Trundle deck, if I'm not wrong, which looks to be quite interesting, has a couple of options that maybe, if I know them center correctly, which has a couple of options that seem to be really interesting and that I think we should look forward to watching if it's not banned away.
hmm Yeah, no, it'll be really interesting to see that deck because it used to be a fairly strong deck. You know, back when Trundle was just released, Tryndamere was a good card in its own right, being able to revive and having 8 power, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
But Trundle enabling that just so much more with the Frailyard cards like the Frostbite, the Troll Champ buff up, all that fun stuff, as well as the mana cards to get you to those big 8 cost units that you need. Um it'll be really interesting. And then on the flip side, we're also looking at the Ezreal Kennen deck that
Israel
Barch
Timo.
Ezreal Teemo, excuse me. I'm so used to Ezreal Kennen. Ezreal Teemo deck on Bratch Kata. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. But he's gonna be busting that out tonight. And it'll be interesting to see because it like I think you mentioned in the booth before went live, it was a draw until you die deck.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
it's a tried and true tactic. The only problem with that deck specifically is it'll really suffer into something like Tryndamere, where it's going for some really strong big attacks.
Yeah, I think that it has such a clear cut weakness that even though it seems interesting to try and around, and I think it's a good niche deck to try and play around, it has such a weakness against a lot of the decks that I think we may end up seeing because even though
hmm
it's not super, I don't want to say super popular. There's quite a few decks that do have that super high, super powerful impact attack that you rely on
hmm
and may affect this kind of decks if it gets popularized or if it gets played a lot.
Yeah, I mean, just off of last week, the tried and true Sejuani Gangplank,
Yep.
obviously a huge hitter, could very easily exploit the deck or the Ezreal Teemo deck. Warlords still as popular as ever could be able to exploit that. As we take a look at the full list here, we see Teemo Ezreal, obviously the core of that deck, planting shrooms, the Hex Core Foundry, forced draw for your opponent, and then a bunch of other cards to plant shrooms and stall out the game long enough for those shrooms to come out and
Yeah.
win it for you.
Pretty much, I think that that's how it's based on a lot. I also think really importantly, the Hex Core Foundry going to be your main. I don't want to say main win condition, but certainly one of the two main things that I think you're looking forward to play. Because as soon as you get that with your Teemo paired out, the stacking of the shrooms becomes much more powerful, and it's going to be the probably the two pieces, kind of like when we look at Warlord, Savior, and Action. Those two pieces that you really need to be able to stack the deck and be able to use it to its full potential.
Yeah, and I think the like we've mentioned, this deck will suffer to heavy attackers. But another thing is board clear should severely punish this deck just
Yeah,
because it's a lot of low health units and it's a very spell heavy deck where you're trying to use a lot of spell mana to get to that end game condition. And it could be very strong. I'm hoping that they've thought this through. It just needs the right matchup, I think, and it
yeah.
could be very strong. And then we're gonna take a look at Tryndamere Trundle to see if anything new has come out with these new cards that we've seen.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be pretty much what we have usually seen out of the Tryndamere Trundle. Huge, powerful potential attacks with the Tryndamere obviously being level up so that he can get the damage out. But apart from that, I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary with this deck. Just watching over the top, waiting for maybe, yeah, now watching it over on the screen. I really don't think there's anything out of the ordinary apart from the potential big attacks that we have seen with Tryndamere. And I think that the Tryndamere deck coming back, it's a lot of maybe a lot of the potential meta, other meta picks that we have seen or other meta decks that we have seen make it much more potentially viable right now.
hmm Now, interestingly, looking at the spell list particularly, we have 2 Ruination and 3 Feel the Rush. Now, usually those cards are like one-offs in your deck where you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, if I pull that, it'll be a nice thing to have. But I feel like having 2 Ruination specifically is like if you get to a point in your game where you need 2 Ruinations, it's a very bad spot for you because you're probably going to lose something that you need as well. And I
Yeah.
mean,
So
with
I
with those cards dedicated to sorry, oh, go
no, no,
TD.
no. I was going to ask. I feel like you're saying at that point when you're kind of in that situation, isn't that pretty much game over at that point? So I do agree with the sentiment. Like it feels like it's probably a little bit too much when maybe it's not that needed to have so many of those kind of one-off cards.
hmm And he's only got 2 Tryndamere as well, so he's detracting from the odds of pulling a Tryndamere as well. And maybe he's just looking for the 3 Feel the Rush, like to pull one of those and just go straight for the win at that point. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. It obviously can go the distance because it has Frostbites, it has the kindly Tavern Keepers for the heals. I think it might just be a little too spell reliant because a lot of these decks that we've seen, the Yordles, the Bandlewoods, the the burn decks, they don't really care if you have spells. They want you to have or that you need to have units on the board to block them.
Yeah. It's super reliant on having those strong, not a strong BP, but those sacrificable cards that
hmm
realistically, when you
Chump
get rid of
blocking,
them, it's what?
chump blocking.
Chump blocking. I'd rather call them sacrifice. Like they're just fodder, pretty much. They're fodder for me to be able to win.
hmm
Pretty much. It sounds
Oh
rough, but it's the truth.
well, with that, we do know our matchup. We will be spectating What Am I, hopefully seeing his Trundle Trinimir deck come out versus Kazuichi. And Kazuichi, let's look at what those decks he's got, TDS.
Yeah, quickly looking at the Kazuichi decks, I think he had a really interesting deck with a Kennen Ari. So making use of the newer potential, I am kind of interested in seeing how does it play. If it gets played, I think that it may be one of those that may end up getting banned just because of not only how new it is, but how impactful it may be with some of the other decks. But apart from that, he has the what is called the Warlords and the Sejuani GP. So pretty normal too, but I think the Kenanari really interesting to see if it gets playtime.
Yeah, I mean Kennen obviously so strong since his since his release. They had to be hot fixed like earlier this week. So it already a super strong card. It's just so much control in his once he's leveled up with his Mark of the Storm.
Yeah,
Ari, unfortunately, as an Ari fan myself, I
I
don't think
agree.
she's really seen as much of a power on release as Kennen, but it's very cool and unique the things you can do with her. Unfortunately, I just don't think she's good enough to put her up against some of these other decks like the Warlords, like the Sejuani GP. Um, granted, What Am I has brought actually three, excuse me, 3 fairly slow decks in the Trundle Tryndamere, Lee Sin Zoe, and the Lissandra Telia. So maybe there's an opportunity there for the Arya shine.
Yeah, I actually feel like some of the I would think that the Soil Leasing and the Lisandra Talia are two decks that I think the Ari Cannon can be played into and can get a lot of value out of that. Like you're pointing out, the control potential out of these 3 decks I think is really high in comparison to what we may see from other decks, and it may be a point where the Ari Cannon deck can shine. And I also think that that's the reason why I think the Ari Cannon will get banned because it can shine really effectively against this. But looking
Mhm.
at the other 2 decks, I also think that GP Sesh can get a lot of value against some of these decks as well because of the denial that the Sejuani has. So I'm just thinking that Watamai has a tough time kind of deciding which deck would be the best to take away and which
Mhm.
deck would you want to fight against.
Yeah, and we mentioned earlier that like the units, you need units on the board to take care of or answer some of these decks. Warlords and GP Sejuani specifically, they're going to go for a fairly good attacker, a fairly wide board to get these power out. As we see the first band come through, it will be Ari and Kennen taken off the board. So exactly what we were talking about. The Ari and Kennen maybe a little too fast paced to go up against one of my decks, and then Talia Lissandra taken off on on one of my deck list.
Yeah, interesting two choices. Like we talked about the potential from the Canary, but I also feel we were also talking about how GP Sedge can get a denial onto
Mhm.
these two decks that you may not want to. Like, can at least in Zoe is really reliant on getting that really huge attack or really huge empowerment onto the Lee Sin and continuation with the Zoe. And Sedge
Mhm.
can deny that just immediately if she gets played out. So it's a risky. I think it's a risky bet, but at the same time I kind of feel like you're willing to go for much more known decks than going against something that it's still kind of new when you think about it.
No, yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully, as we get into this first game, I'm just trying to think of like both the Trending Trundle deck, 100%. It could just be blown out before it can even get set up because both the Gangplank Sejuani and the Warlords have a technically or a potentially faster win setup. Like the Action can get his level up almost down to like at round 5. Gangplank Sejuani in a perfect world both get their level up at round 5 or turn
Yeah,
5. And at that point, Sejuani is just one of the best control cards in the game. Frostbites your whole
pretty
board
much.
every turn basically, and that will 100% shut down a Trundle Tryndamere deck. And if the Lee Sin is not used correctly or at the right time, it could just be horrible to play as into that kind of deck.
Yeah, like I think the upside it's can be overshadowed a lot by by the downside of the opposing deck, right? So even though it's a risky bet, it's a bet that maybe what am I maybe willing to bet on. Like just thinking about it, I think that maybe he's more willing to go for that upside. But
Hmm.
when you think about the potential just downside that that may be going against the deck, it's just it feels kind of rough.
Yeah, as we get into game number 1, and it will be the Sejuani Gangplank from Kazuichi and the Lee Sin. Yeah, that's right, the Lee Sin Zoe from What Am I? Interestingly, he's included the Wounded White Flame, a brand new card with the most recent expansion into the deck with the faded keyword.
Another
Should be
dragon.
very interesting. Yeah, a dragon. Yeah, yeah, I forgot the dragon TDS.
Yeah, we haven't it's been a while since we cast it, so maybe my dragon addiction has been forgotten a little bit. But I'm
No,
here
no, I
to
was
bring
playing
back
it this
dragons.
morning. In
Yeah,
honor of
that's
you,
great.
TDS.
The dragons are great. I hope we see more. I hope we see more when I'm here because if not, that I'll be really sad.
Yeah, I mean, it should be interesting. I think dragons could make a good comeback. A lot, or specifically against a lot of these weaker boards that or weaker decks that are coming out with like the low power units. But before we can get too much into theory crafting next week,
Yeah,
we're going to see a pretty good start from Kazuichi's 3Y already with an elusive unit. But Watermai also has a pretty good start. He has the Zoe, he has the Wounded White Flame, and a good amount of spells. So he should be able to curve nicely, hopefully. I'm not sure why he was holding the Zoe last turn. But maybe he's just trying to make sure it doesn't get cleared out by a Make It Rain or what have you.
yeah. I think ideally he probably feels worried about those
Hmm.
small attacks that can kill the Zoe. Like Zoe is is a one cost that can die to almost anything. So I can see the
Hmm.
worry from maybe a spell killing the Zoe. But I do agree that it was something that that he should have tried and gone for because it's so pivotal for the deck to get the Zoe
Hmm.
stacking as soon as possible.
Yeah, and Kazuichi, he did the Darius facepalm emote early when the Mirai summoned this the Moor into this elusive unit. But it kind of works out for him really well because it forces the Zoe to not be able to attack.
Yeah, it forces the Zoe, but I think that ideally you wouldn't want to force an attack with the Zoe just because of the risk of it. So
Hmm.
like it's not necessarily the worst of things if you don't attack, but it seems like what am I maybe wants to force an attack with this with the Zoe. Well, he's buffing it up, so I think this makes sense at least if you're going to use it.
Yeah, I think he's trying to just get a little bit of health on the Zoe since he doesn't have any other cards yet. He's trying to make sure that the Zoe can't get cleared by a make
Like
it rain or
anything
something. Yeah, and he's
pretty
just sort
much
of
anything.
forcing. I think he's just forcing Kazuichi to show that he doesn't have a make it rain in hand.
Yeah, that would be a nice bet to try and play again. Like you're saying, and I really like you bring it up. Just trying to bait out anything out of Kazuichi to showcase that their Zoe is not at risk is ideal. But at the same time, Kazuichi may just think, "Oh, I'm not going to use it this time around. I can wait a little bit longer, and then your Zoe will be useless." So,
Hmm.
pretty interesting potential mind game that both players may try and play around.
Hmm. Interestingly, he went for the Moon Silver. I would have expected a Trickster to come out just to have another unit on the board that's also elusive to get damage onto this Nexus. But maybe he's waiting to look for an earlier Lee Sin or at least a cheaper one so he has more mana for spells. Um, but yeah, it's good though. It's a good state though. I think for Wodamai, he has the two Eye of the Dragon set up. He's getting the Dragonlings out, and he's going to be able to sustain for a good while. It's just he is technically on a clock because Kazuichi
Yeah.
has the Gangplank and the Sejuani in hand, and two Dreadways and a warning shot. He has everything he really needs to get towards this level up, and at that point, it's going to be a very very bad time to have Zoe on the board, much less any other unit. You'll just be
Yeah.
not being able to do it a lot.
Like that setup in hand, when I now that you bring it up, we see the setup in hand from Kazuichi, and honestly, he has everything to succeed as soon as he wants. Like
Hmm.
realistically, when he can and he will be able to get to that point, he will just activate everything and he will be able to just do whatever he wants with his deck. Meanwhile, I think Wadamai has been playing accordingly, utilizing the units effectively and getting value. But we're still missing the leasing, right? And that's one of the important
Hmm.
cards in this deck. And also, it's not yet powerful enough to try and counter against Kazuichi. So, like you're saying, the timer is maybe running out a little bit quicker than you would want. And Kazuichi is just setting up for his more powerful turn and attacks.
Hmm. And it's interesting that Kazuichi's not going for the attack here. I mean, he technically has the advantage of the board and he has the cards in hand. I mean, you should probably try and push your advantage, I think, if you're Kazuichi. Try and clear out some of these units like the White Flame or or anything really, but I assume he's just trying to avoid the Dragonlings and giving one of my health back. But what am I still not in the best spot? He still doesn't have Lee Sin, and that's really
Yeah.
what he needs to turn this game into a win.
Yeah, pretty much that's what he's betting on right now. Like you're saying, maybe he's being a little too Kazuichi being a little too careful about his
Mhm.
potential attacks and ideas. But I'm still thinking that he's just waiting for the right when he gets the potential to use the Gangplank or the Serrani. He will just be aggressive and be able to get anything out. Like as long as the Lee Sin is not out, he's still able to get it. He's still comfortable enough.
Mhm. I mean, I think if you're Kazuichi, you're I'm trying to feel like the mind game. Like Kazuichi, I think you're holding the Sejuani for the Lee Sin to come out. And if you're what am I? You don't have the Lee Sin right now, but you're holding the Lee Sin for the Sejuani to come out so that you can get an attack with the Lee Sin without getting the Sejuani like frostbite vulnerable on on
Yeah.
Kazuichi's attack turn. But you gotta make a move somewhere because eventually the Sejuani will be leveled up and everything will be frostbite every turn.
And everything will be pretty much. I don't want to. It's not that there will be pretty much just frozen until they cannot do anything, and that's the
Hmm.
big worry. Like Kazuichi can just like you're saying with the Sejuani, it's the worry that you have to feel. But even without the Sejuani, if the GP is out and he can begin stacking barrels as well. Wait, okay, he played the Sejuani. I was expecting that maybe he goes for the
Hmm.
GP before that, but I'm okay with this. Just using the Sejuani and threatening anything,
Hmm.
threatening the potential that Sejuani will deny you completely.
Yeah, so the Sejuani is only at three stages to or three steps to her level up. But I think he's worried of this Zoe. This Zoe I think is at eight or nine now with this card play for her level up, and I think he's trying to avoid that. Like he's saying, okay, well, the Lee Sin hasn't made its appearance yet. I need to clear the Zoe before something bad actually happens. And unfortunately, I think the Zoe's gonna get the level up no matter what. He has the Sonic Wave in hand, and then this Sonic Wave and the Resonating Strike should get the Zoe to the level up. If she's not at 8 or 9, she'll be at 8 or 9, and then there's the Concussive Palm as well to guarantee that she gets to that point. I'm betting that she's at higher than 7.
I think it should be super close to that. If it's not that, I'd be surprised. Like she should have enough to be able to level up, and at that point, it's already what you want out of the Zoe. But realistically, even if the Zoe levels up now, I think that as long as you get the Sejuani level up as well, even if it's not in this particular turn or in the next ensuing turns, as long as you get that,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be that huge with the Zoe.
Mm-hmm. As we do see the concussive palm come out, and this will save the Zoe realistically no matter what. I'm just curious. He's probably waiting for the next turn so that he gets the resonating strike and level up. But I feel like you want to go for that now, so you can give all your units level or lifesteal before it's really too late, because you will be
Yeah,
summoning those 2 lifesteal units next turn on round start.
yeah. I think that that would be the case, but now I'm coming to thinking, I'm kind of thinking that maybe there's a potential that with if you have enough, if you roll down the or not roll down, if you are able to get the leasing on the next turn, maybe there's a chance that a huge attack may come through and just be able to
Mm-hmm.
win through that. But it's not the leasing, okay?
It's another guiding touch, but yeah, we're gonna see the sonic wave come out, and then we'll see the resonating strike afterwards. And this should level the Zoe up. I wish we could know what card she's specifically at, but it has to be 9 now. I'm there's no way it's not.
Like after
Um,
last time, it has to be right. Like
yeah, like
it would be
we're gonna
surprising if
say
it's
that
not.
every turn until she levels up.
We're
Okay,
going to
there it
be just saying, yeah, finally.
is. Yeah, finally. But this is an interesting stage here. I mean, I think you probably should have. Well, I was gonna say you should probably put it on the Zoe so you have more damage on the Nexus, but he does actually need the health. He's only at 10 currently, and a big attack from Kazuichi will definitely spell the end of him, especially with this Gangplank and and Dreadway in hand.
Yeah, like I even though he finally got the Zoe level up, and it's something to certainly look forward to. It's still not out of the rope, pretty much. Even though he doesn't know 100% that he's on the rope, it's still not out yet because of what Kazuichi still has in hand, and the
Mm-hmm.
ensuing problem once again that Lee Sin is still not up.
Yeah, I mean the Lee Sin not being up is such a difficult angle to play as this like Zoe Lee Sin deck. It forces you to try and pull something out with a super cool star chart or an invoke to find either an elusive or some other really good keyword that allows you to get a lot of damage on the Nexus. And even with this attack, you have to wait until the next attack turn for you to get this elusive level or elusive spread to your units and attack. And that's 2 turns where both the Dreadway and GP can come out, and one of those is the attack turn for Kazuichi. And it really is leaving you with not a lot to do as in terms of wow, one damage. Oh my god, wait.
That was a huge tag. I think the dragon stacking actually being really important. Not only the dragon stacking, but the chip damage that I think we didn't pay attention much to it. It was a lot of chip damage previously.
Well, I looked away and I thought Kazuichi committed one of the taskmasters masters to the attack. I thought that he was blocking the tail of the dragon, but I guess he
He
opted not to.
oh yeah, no, he pulled those off in the previous play.
Okay. Well, that was interesting. That could have ended really bad. That there was enough mana for for what am I to pull out maybe like a twin disciplines or another resonating strike or something and go and just get that extra 2 damage out.
Yeah, I think maybe he like pull off the game. Maybe he wasn't expecting no blocks and simply didn't think that there was a chance. Like it's surprising because I think that the damage calculation should have shown you that you had the chance,
Mm-hmm.
unless something else is pulled off. But apart from a block, what else, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really anything, but it's definitely a good spot here now for what am I? I mean, you have to find a way to do 1 damage, and part of that's going to be surviving this attack from Kazuichi, which includes the Dreadway. So the Dreadway is going to double all the damage, obviously, but you need to find a lot of health or to block the Sejuani's overwhelm. I mean, you have 2 guiding touch in hand that should be able to get your wounded White Flame back up to a decent health standing, but So that's gonna be 10 damage to the Nexus through whatever health is available on that unit through like with this Dreadway through the Sejuani. I mean, it's a lot of stuff to deal with, as well as blocking these other units. I mean, granted you have the lifesteal, but if the Sejuani's able to find like extra damage and one shots you before you can get the lifesteal, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the problem kind of falls in that even if it's not this turn,
Mm-hmm.
more than likely it's in the next or in the next 2 turns that it's going to happen. So the risk is still so high, so high for what am I? And there's a
Yeah,
Sejuani level up.
yeah, and now with the Sejuani level up, if I'm not mistaken, I think he has a warning shot in hand. Or no, the Gangplank level up. So the Gangplank level up is going to proc the life or the Frostbite, which means this lifesteal that you spread to all your units no longer means anything. So you have to use the Guiding Touch on your Nexus, I would imagine, since you're no longer getting lifesteal through any of your cards.
Maybe now with this Lee Sin, something can be much more risky, but now with the Sejuani level up, it can just get denied. So
Mm-hmm.
like it
I
feels like
mean,
the timer for what am I, even though it's still good, like I just feel like the timer for what am I maybe is run out. Even with 1 health
uh,
on Kazuichi only.
it's so the upside for what am I is that there's not really any cards in Kazuichi's hand right now at this moment that can damage the Nexus and force a frostbite. The downside is that if he top decks a warning shot, if he top decks a make it rain and it does hit the Nexus, then your next attack with the Lee Sin will not be that good. I mean, you'd have to pull something, either Twin Disciplines or what have you, and use it after the Sejuani's Frostbite, so that you can damage the Nexus with Lee Sin. But he doesn't have it in hand, and it's a lot of art or a lot of luck to rely on to get this win.
Like funnily enough, it's so many good things that we can see for Kazuichi that it's working out. But at the same time, I think that
Mm-hmm.
what am I is doing the correct things with what was given at him, because we talked about the list nothing there, but the utilization with the Zoe and then the Dragon as well was so good overall to deny so many things out of Kazuichi and also brought him to this point. But now, even with all of the good things that he has done, like Kazuichi has still such a good potential to make a good attack and win this game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's gonna be really interesting to see what Am I does with this block. Like, is he going to sacrifice the Zoe? Is he going to keep it? I would imagine that you have
I
to
think
keep it
no.
and hope you live through this attack, just that you have either so you have both the Lee Sin and the Zoe as forms to of damage to the Nexus. But you actually have to use both guiding touches here on either the Nexus or a unit so that you know that you live through this, because it's very very risky for Kazuichi or what am I to just gamble on this.
He's going to go for the well. The Zoe doesn't die here, so.
No, the
uh,
Zoe does die here. The Jagged will do 4 damage with the
oh
Dreadway.
wait, actually yes. So, well, the Zoe is no. I feel like at this point the Zoe is something that you can give away. So I can kind of be okay with that. But
Mm-hmm.
it is a good clear by Kazuichi. The Sojourner was taken away though, but it is a good clear by Kazuichi.
Yeah,
Oh
so this Johnny being taken away actually helps out What Am I way more than it or it helps What Am I an insane amount, because now you don't have to worry about this frostbite potentially coming out, because
yeah,
you do have the opportunity to just attack here first, because you have the 2 guiding touches in hand, thankfully, and pulling the sonic wave also is a great help. And yeah, this is just gonna be the game here,
yeah.
just because there's nothing in Kazuichi's hand that can prevent this.
So the Sejuani trade there, I think that maybe a little too first. Like it was understandable why he was going for that, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it made Watamai's last attack be much more powerful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it the Sejuani kind of had to come out. It's just unfortunate for Kazuichi that there was nothing that in his hand that could help save the Sejuani, like a warning shot, a make it rain that lucks out and hits the Nexus as opposed to the
Yeah,
6 other units on the board. Something, something to save that attack. But I think it had to happen from Kazuichi, but it's just unfortunate that he couldn't find anything else to help turn the game around. But a
yeah,
great win from What Am I?
yeah. Like ideally, I think that Sejuani certainly it's what ideally you would like to do because it's probably what makes you much more stronger for the ensuing turns. But it also makes it so that at the end, Watamai has that chance to be able to win away. And I think particularly what really make this game much more viable for what am I, much more probable for him to win, was that attack that we saw, I think around turn 6 or 7, where it was the potential to block it with the potential for Kazuichi to block it, but instead he doesn't go for the double block. He just goes for, I think, as a Johnny block, and ends up taking so much damage that he's at 1 health. And at that
Mhm.
point, like anything, just literally just blowing at him destroys him. And that's what ended
Mhm.
up happening against Kazuichi, but really well played by Watamai.
Yeah, he pulled back one of these jagged butchers. That it likely would have saved him at least initially, but here we see he mulligans for 2 Sejuanis as he tries to run back this Sejuani Gangplank
Just
deck.
in case.
Just in case. I mean, 2 Sejuanis potentially could have saved him. Since Kazuichi did try and go for a Zenith Blade, but or what am I excuse me, went for a Zenith Blade, but Watamai's initial hand again is insanely strong. I mean, he's got the excuse me, the Avarosan Lookout and the Bladed Ravine and a Frostbite and the Vile Feast. So he's looking good for now. He has two methods of control and at least the Vile Feast to get another unit on the board.
Yeah, it feels like he has potentially anything he needs to be able to just set up for the powerful Trinity attack
Hmm.
that he wants to put out later on,
And
obviously.
he's got another Tryndamere now too.
It's the kind of thing like with the Sejuani, if one's not enough, two is the answer.
Yeah. And we're gonna see the attack come out here, and a spell from Kazuichi is on the board. It's gonna be the Make It Rain. Yeah, so he's just gonna try and go for that extra proc of the Plunder, so that Sejuani and Gangplank are just one step closer to the level up. But wow, the pull from What Am I on that Avaros and Lookout's last breath is the Trundle. So yeah, he's
He's set
looking
up.
pretty good. Yeah, he's
He's,
set up.
he's set up.
And and the Bladed Ravine's got the board clear, and the Field of What the? He's hacking. He's got to have done something to
He's
this
paying
deck.
God. He's paying God pretty much.
He's literally stacked the deck in his favor. The downside right now is that he's going to have to. Oh wait, no, I forgot the Trundle's a 5 cost card. I was gonna say the downside is he has to wait a minute to summon these units, but no, he's got the Trundle right now immediately. All he needs to do is just wait for 8 mana.
He's pretty much just waiting for that bomb to take out, and it's going to explode. And it's going to
Mhm.
be wonderful for what am I, and horrible for Kazuichi, pretty much.
Now, what Kazuichi needs is a monster hunter because he needs to take care of the Trundle probably sooner than later. He has 2 warning shots. He has the Sejuani and the Gangplank, but he needs something on the board to block and save health, and to help clear uh this Trundle out.
Well, Monster Johnny does go out now, so just to try and deny the Trundle, but okay.
Instant vengeance. Now, thankfully, Kazuichi has a second one. So he's got the insurance, which is why I assume he went for the Sejuani play first before the Gangplank to bait out one of these vengeances. But
Ideally, yeah.
he,
But
he now has to work. He has to work it over again. He has to spend 6 more mana on another Sejuani.
like I just feel like there's so many good things out of what Watamai has in hand that even with this Johnny coming out, like I'm not sure if it's enough, but it's going to be get now. It's going to destroy now this Trundle, which it's ideal for a start. I think that for Kazuchi is great.
I think it's good for Kazuichi, but on the the flip side of
Flip
that,
side.
I don't think Watamai cares. Watamai has the Feel the Rush in hand, and he has 2 more Trendamirs. This is just like a play around for him. He doesn't even care what happens, and he's still gonna frostbite. He's still gonna save the the Trundle. So
This is sending a message. It's just like I won't even let you kill my Trundle. That's how strong I am right now.
you can't even deal. You can't even stop me. And I think if you're what am I right now? I think you're just gonna let this round go out. Stock up the mana, play Tryndamere next turn, attack, and then play the Feel the Rush the turn after. Once as soon as you hit 9 plus 3 spell mana, and then you have
And win.
four champions on the board at that point.
Yeah, and at that point, I feel like at that point it's pretty much a win.
I mean, at that point, there's not much you can do. You have 2 Trundles, 2 Tryndameres. Oh, he's gonna go for the ice shard instead, which curious, but
Okay, I don't
valid.
know how much lore related that is, but if that is how Trundle gets his weapon, I'll be really disappointed. Like that was so bad to see. Just carved out of ice and that's it.
I think lore, unless it's been retconned, the lore is that Trundle got just like a big piece of true ice from Lysandra and promised to do a bunch of stuff for Lysandra as far as like taking over the Freljord. But lore besides, we're going to see the Tryndamere this turn. So I think he's gonna try and go for the four champion stack on on the board after this attack, but he's gonna need to get through a fair bit of units here first.
Yeah, and even though he gets the overwhelm here and he's will be able to okay, that's isn't this game? Yeah, this game, right? If there's no block this
Um,
game
so
with
three.
overwhelm, no 13. Okay, yeah, my maths are bad.
No, even if there's no block, he still lives. But you
Yeah, it's
have to
13.
block here. You have to try and turn this game around.
You cannot try and survive with
You
3 health. I don't think that's a good idea against this
No,
two.
you can't just try and you have to survive with as much health as possible because you have to start turning the game around. You have to start
Yeah,
having units on the board to kill Trendemir and Trundle to have the like have the game just come back in your favor because if you let this happen with 3 health, the next attack that happens no matter what happens is going to mean that you're going to get killed potentially. Instead, we're going to see the Sejuani level up, and if he has another warning shot in hand, this means that nothing will happen
he has.
to. He has
I
2
think
warning
he has.
shots,
Yeah,
so yeah, he's just going to use another warning shot and live and kill the Tryndamere.
yeah. So being able to appease the storm, I think it is. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Like stop the bad from happening, kill the Tryndamere. It does meet the level up from the Tryndamere, but still you deny the attack, and that's the most important thing.
hmm Now, the one thing that we were talking about before we got into this was the Tryndamere Trundle deck could be insanely strong. It synergizes very well with Trundle passive and Tryndamere just being a huge attacking unit. The bad thing is that it takes too long to set up against the Sejuani Gangplank deck, and we saw just why, like just now, because the Sejuani can level up by turn 6. It doesn't matter when she levels up though, as long as she levels up before the Trundle Trimmer starts getting these big attacks off. Because once it's leveled up, Frostbite makes it so that even if you have a 10 power Trundle like we see here, nothing's happening.
Pretty much nothing will happen with that 10 power Trundle.
Mm-hmm.
And now thinking a little bit about it, apart from just having a really strong attack, what other measures does what am I have to deny to kill this Johnny? Right? Like I think he has an
Vengeance
if
in
I'm
hand.
yeah he has at
That's
least
about it.
that. Yeah, and apart from that, I don't remember much inside of his deck that he can maybe use. So it just feels kind of hard to try and deny this. Okay, vengeance.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Vengeance is gonna come out. I think the Vengeance is the only thing you really can do here. You have to force the Sejuani to not be on the board anymore. And with the Sejuani being taken off the board, he still has Kazuichi still has one in hand as far as backups go, but he doesn't have enough mana to take it out this turn, which means that on the next attack there won't be that Sejuani on the board to Frostbite. So the Tryndamere and Trundle ideally just go for an open attack and don't allow another Sejuani to get on the board and set up to shut these attacks down, because next attack the Trundle's going to get another 5 power from his passive, which means he'll just be with no matter what blocks, it should just be a kill or
Both are
excuse me, lethal.
yeah. I think it should be now with this GP. Maybe there's a chance to try and block, but I'm not sure if it's going to be strong enough in the next turn, like you're saying. Like without the Sejuani, without having that Sejuani to frost by the next turn, maybe it's
hmm
simply not enough.
hmm And it's just going to be the Gangplank attacking the Ice Pillar, which will take away from the amount of power that Trundle's able to gain, but it's not really enough. Like at this point, there's not really anything that you can do to try and stall this out. I mean, you're gonna get a little bit of damage to the Nexus through the overwhelm with Gangplank, but the box here I'm not really sure what the box is for. It's gonna kill the keg and do damage to Gangplank, but what does it? What I guess it's useful
Is it
here.
maybe to brittle down so that next turn you're pretty much sure
Yeah,
that nothing will stop you?
yeah. I think that's about the only thing that it's going to be able to do is just make it so that no matter what's blocked is not going to be enough to defend lethal, and especially with this other this other battle fury or battle rage in hand, it essentially just guarantees the win. Even if Kazuichi pulls something out of his hand that can frostbite, which I don't think he has in his deck. So he has 1, 3 sisters in his deck. So unless something comes out from Kazuichi, then it's not going to be a good time.
Something miraculous, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Something miraculous. So
It's going to
I
be.
sorry, what?
No. I was thinking. I was trying to make a pun with miraculous ladybug, but I failed. Sorry.
Yeah, so unfortunately it's a warning shot, and I think What Am I should just go for the full attack here. And yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. On open, he's going to just go for the attack, and he's going to challenge the keg of all things as well, which is just going to mean I think the Trundle just does lethal here through the keg. Yeah, even
Yeah,
through the keg,
50.
Trundle has enough for lethal on his own. With the Trundamere, it just means a guaranteed win here for What Am I. Now, it's just unfortunate for Kazuichi. I mean, he has the monster harpoons in his deck. He just hasn't been able to find them.
Yeah, like that could have been the difference to try and destroy this Tryndamere and make it so that it this Tryndamere or this Trundle so that it doesn't matter. Maybe now with this extra health, like I won't try to do maths on broadcast anymore because I don't know. But yeah, maybe it is lethal now. Maybe it's still lethal. I mean,
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, even if the math isn't there right now, there's still the Battle Fury in hand. And I think this is
yeah,
still
it is my okay.
this is
Yeah,
still
I'm
lethal.
not going to risk myself anymore to math on broadcast. I'm not going to risk it anymore.
It's okay, TDS. But what am I securing a fairly swift 2 wins?
Yeah.
Almost taking a little bit of a rough first game, but he managed to turn it around with what should have been a weaker deck overall into that matchup. But with the second one, he was in total control the whole time. A little, not a little dicey, but the Sejuani almost was able to come in clutch for Kazuichi. Unfortunately, what am I was able to pull the vengeance, able to find ways to clear that frostbite machine out and take the win.
Yeah, I feel like in the first game we saw a better way of management from what am I like. He truly displayed really good management with a deck that maybe could have been
Mhm.
first out by the GB, yeah, by the GB Sojourni, and it was closer than I was expecting. So the way that he managed and played that out, I really, I think tells us how much of a good player he is to be able to maneuver how he did. I know the second game he really had a lot of good advantages early on, and then he played really effectively with those advantages that he had on hand. Like yes, Sejuani did come out to threaten that potential, but he was already set up, and as soon as he took out that Sejuani, it was just pretty much swift sailings after that.
Yeah, I mean, basically smooth sailing. But with that, we will be taking a short break before we get into the next matchup. What am I and the beautiful gamers taking the win over Kazuichi and Memento Mori? Stick right there, and we'll be back with some more Legends of Runeterra. I said, "What's up? What's up? What's up?" TDS. Welcome back to the deck.
Okay.
I, s- I said, "What's up? What's up? What's up?" No,
I
well, we're back. We're back. My name's Domcast. I'm joined by TDS.
I
We're
just want to
trolling
put
the
out that
cast.
I didn't know we were doing this and I wasn't a part of it. So just in case.
I am trolling the cast. We're back for some more Legends of Runeterra action with Runeterra Academy and Metafy. We just saw What Am I take down Kazuishi in a pretty swift 2 games.
Yep.
We saw some old decks come out, fairly slow decks, both taking the wins, which I was not expecting.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking that there was going to be a better chance for Kazuichi to pull off, particularly in game one. I thought that game one was going to be his, and What Am I certainly played around it really well and took us to two swift games that maybe we didn't expect at start, but really were shown in the first and particularly in the second game how he handled it.
Yeah, I mean, it was really impressive, totally going against what we've seen really since the start of Runeterra Academy's Legends of Runeterra tournaments. I mean, we saw
Yep.
mainly fast decks, mainly high damage decks, and just to see, something that stalls out till like round 9 or 10 take the win was very, very refreshing. But as we move forward, we're going back to the basics, back to what we know. We have
The
um
normals.
the normals. Um we have Team Brother and the Tom Kench Gaming, and we're gonna see some pretty interesting matchups. We have Tom Kench Gaming busting out 2 Pantheon decks, and then um we also have excuse me, another Pantheon deck from uh Team Brother.
Yeah, I saw quite a bit of those Pantheon decks. Certainly something that it's interesting to see how it does perform. I'm not expecting it to be left open. I think that that is going to be one of the banned decks. And I'm kind of interested in seeing how, or if it gets played, how does it develop in a match? Because I feel like even though it can work, seems to be a little bit hard to pull off, in my opinion, with some of the things that I've seen on it.
I've done a little bit of playing with the Pantheon deck since it came out, and I immediately went to the Pantheon Taric. Like, we're going to see Team Brother bring out 2 of those decks, and I also tried it out with some Pantheon Riven, and it's very, very hit or miss. I mean, almost as hit or miss as Riven was on release, because they are kind of the same sort of card. You're buffing up 1 or 2 units a ton so that they go for one of these just big attacks and big wins. As we look at the first deck that Mega Magstar is bringing out, the Pantheon Taric deck specifically. I mean, we see
Yep.
Pantheon, we see Taric. It's going to be a lot of support and buffing up of these units as well. And then we have a lot of buff up cards and a lot of buff up spells. We have the Bright Steel Protector, the Mountain Goat, both cards that target a unit. The Mountain Goat by creating the gems, Bright Steel Protector by barriering them. And then we also have the Wounded White Flame and the Saga Seeker as well. Both of those with the faded keyword, which on or when they're targeted by something, whether it's an ally or a spell, they gain +1/+1, which after a bit really adds up. And on the Wounded White Flame specifically, the Fury also really helps keep those cards healthy.
Yeah, it's clear that its main trait is just stacking and stacking that power on units. Maybe one or two that just feel so buffed up that they are going to be able to carry through with those 2 units. But like you're saying, the hit or miss factor, the fact that it depends on those 2 units getting buffed so much that they can carry. But if it's simply not enough, or you simply cannot execute well enough with that, then you pretty much are without win conditions. And that's a huge problem with a deck that relies so much on things like this.
Win condition, I think, for the Pantheon Taric deck is leveling the Pantheon up and letting, or hopefully getting him like a scout keyword or, quick attack and impact and stuff. But it's very, very like difficult to get Pantheon both to that point. Targeting units in 5 different rounds takes 5 rounds at least, as well as a great deal of mana. Um, but once you get that level up, Pantheon is a very, very strong card. On the flip side, we're going to be taking a look at Raw Rocks Kills' deck, the Braum Pantheon. And
From Pantheon.
this is going to be an interesting deck as well. It has 2 Feel the Rush in there as a an emergency card, a backup win condition to just bring Braum and Pantheon out as 10/10 cards should you get to that point. But then we have the Blighted Ravine as well as the Mountain Goat and the Kindly Tavern Keeper. Now, both of those cards can be used to target an ally and level up this Pantheon's or level up condition, but the Kindly Tavern Keeper is more geared towards keeping your Nexus healthy, whereas there's not really a lot of other ways to target Pantheon without using a bunch of spell mana, like the Troll Chant, like the Guiding Touch, the Pal Cascade, the Elixir of Iron. All of those are really good cards for keeping your unit alive, which is, I think, Pantheon's weakest point.
Yeah, so ideally you will be, or ideally not, you would be using a lot of a spell to try and make use of these cards to buff out the Pantheon. But like you're saying, I think the key there is keeping the Pantheon alive, which you would ideally want to keep him as long as possible there
Mhm.
outside in the map, in the board, because that way you can keep just pumping out boosts for your team, for your allies, and boosts for your damage to come through. And I think that this adaptation maybe potentially much more stronger than that of the Taric Pantheon. I think that Taric Pantheon, I can see the formula idea behind it, but I think that this overall to keep the Pantheon alive and try and keep it much more safe and much more controlled makes a little bit more sense to me.
No, I definitely see where you're coming from, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. As we do know our matchup now, it will be Raw Rocks Kills versus, excuse me, versus Turtle Butt. So the decks that we will be seeing are Raw Rocks Kills bringing Poke City, Kennen Poppy Bandle Tree, and the Braum Pantheon like we were just looking at. Turtle Butt bringing the Sejuani Gangplank, Pantheon Taric, and the Poppy MF Poppy MF deck. Now, I actually just the other day was testing out Poppy and MF. Now, I was doing it a bit differently. I was testing out field promotion and other scout cards with the MF, going for a little bit of a scout MF deck, but taking Quinn out and putting Poppy in so that you can buff up these weaker scout units and not need to go for the more expensive cards. But I also was interested to see how the Bandle City version would work out, and we're going to see that today, hopefully, from Turtlebutt.
Yeah, I think it's Poppy after the patch, the mini patch. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not the probably not the strongest version of Poppy that may come with this deck. I think that it's still useful enough, but I want to see how much that impacts this kind of decks, right?
Yeah, I mean the hot fix that we saw this week did a lot of nerfing, just straight up nerfing. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. It was just straight up nerfs for a lot of Bandle City cards. It was Kennen taking a hit. It or well maybe not Kennen specifically, but Kennen's cards that he uses to level up taking a hit. The Kinku Wayfinder, being nerfed so that it's two different one cost units summoned on drop. Poppy taking yet another hit to her power, bringing her down to 2-3, and then the Yordle Explorer, probably one of the strongest Yordle cards that they've released. Just they just nerfed that, so no longer gives health, but it helps a lot with clearing the board, but it doesn't really help with the power that can really be generated with Poppy and all these other initially weak power cards.
Yeah, I can kind of see how it may affect the overall idea of some of these decks, and even though it's not that kind of not one hit, but powerful enough hit to take down the enemy, it's still good. Like you're saying, the clear can still be good enough, and that cheap damage that may come with the deck may just mount enough so that you can end up winning by continuous attacks. But quickly touching on to the bans, it's both Pantheon decks that are banned, the Braum and the Taric variations, so we won't see any Pantheon action pretty much in this match, it seems, in this game particularly.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense just because of the Pantheon level up is fairly difficult. Keeping Pantheon on the board until the level up is very a very long process. But if he gets that level up, it can just be so strong. It adds 5 random keywords to your already overwhelmed faded Pantheon. So if it gets a quick attack, it gets a scout, it gets a fury, something, it just keeps stacking up until this like hugely powerful unit. So it makes a lot of sense that we're taking those off the board. But uh Poke City, and then the Bandle Tree still there. The Sejuani GP going to be a mainstay until one of those cards gets nerfed again. But the Poppy MF will be very, very interesting to see. I'm very much looking forward to it.
I don't know why,
Um,
but I think it's going to be the first one we see. I think it's going to be MF Poppy
mhm.
against some whatever from the side of Raw Rock Kills.
I think Rock Skills are probably going to open with a Bandle Tree, the Bandle Tree initially. I mean, might as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see that being the play from him.
hmm I mean, I think it doesn't really matter the order you play for either of these teams. It's gonna come down to, I think, for Raw Rock's kills, he's gonna need to beat the GP Sejuani deck twice. Um, and then for Raw Rock's kills, he's gonna need to win with the Sejuani GP deck twice, or Turtle's gonna need to win with it twice. Excuse me.
So you're expecting a pretty much a 3 game series.
I'm hoping for a 3 game series just because it's a lot more exciting to come down to the wire, wait for that last play of the last game. We saw that last week with Aikado. I think both series went to 3 games, and we went to the very, very final card played for both series. Like
Okay.
both times it was just the last card drawn and played decided who won for at least 2 of the games last week, and it was just so much hype, such insane gameplay. It was probably some of the best we've seen in these tournaments up till now. As we get into the first game, and it's going to be the Bandle Tree and GP Sejuani, so we won't be seeing the MF Poppy just yet.
Okay, so I'm wrong. I can live with that. I can live
Come on,
with being wrong
TDS.
in this one. My caloric powers are down a bit.
The predictions are not living up too much today, but
Yeah.
both players going for a pretty good mulligan initially. Turtlebit finding both the Jagged Taskmaster and the Crack Shot, and then Rorrox Kills finding the the Yordle Mayor and the Aloof Travelers. So it could be a pretty good play here. I think if you're Rorrox Kills, you'd go for the Aloof Travelers on turn 4, just so you can try and discard a Sejuani or a Gangplank.
Okay, I can see that being the potential play. Maybe he even saves it up for the next turn, even though it wouldn't be the most ideal. I think that maybe he just holds it a little bit longer than that.
I mean, I think it depends what turn is his attack card. So he won't have the attack token on turn 5, which is the earliest the Gangplank come out. So I think it'd be a risky play, but I think at this point it also doesn't matter. Granted, we have that third person view. We know that the Dreadway is in hand now, and it is going to be the most defensive unit in the deck. It doesn't matter when the Aloof Travelers come out. It's not going to hit the Gangplank. Um, it's just going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I can see it still be like you were saying previously, used to just deny that potential Sejuani anyway, unless it's here. Yeah, no, that potential Sejuani anyway, which would still be a nice roll, and he goes for it. Kennen.
So it's gonna pull. So it pulled a Mirai Warden, but it still discards the Dreadway. But the Kennen on this turn is actually going to be very, pretty good actually. I think because you can get it out and start using the Mark of the Storm, but still no Bandle Tree yet, which is kind of hard, kind of disheartening at least, because you want to try and get that card out as soon as possible so you can start generating these missing regions, but still a fairly good spot for Turtle Butt. Or excuse me, Rawrox Kills.
Yeah, it's like the bundle tree. I can see that it's still one of those things that even though you don't want to call it your most brought out card, it's still something that you really want to get out as soon as you can. And the fact that it's not there, it does appear to be obvious, but it's still such a good start, I think, for Rara Kills, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And the Kennen also, as soon as he gets out, I think that it can begin creating so much struggle for Turtlebot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where they go from here. They have 2 group shots in hand, so they could try and clear these crack shots out, but it's just gonna be an interesting decision here. We do see the
Oh,
Gangplank
the
come
Sejuani
here.
also comes. Sejuani is
Yeah,
also at hand now.
yes, Juani in hand. This is a very, very good spot to be in. Unfortunately, I don't think they're close to level up. I think they still have to wait this turn and next before they can level up. And we're gonna see the group shot come out now to try and get some damage down onto this Gangplank.
So a little bit of chip damage to try and make it easier to get to destroying the next one. He has still another one, so maybe he wants to kill to use it on the GP, but I don't think it's going to come down just yet. I think that he will use it eventually to try and kill that unit later on when he can.
No, the group shot now I think is probably the best play he could have gone for, just because it puts the Gangplank at risk. If the Gangplank comes out to attack, both the Yordle Mayor and the Aloof Travelers can go for the block and the kill onto this Gangplank, and he's gonna go for the attack anyways. So it could just be a kill with a blocker, or it could be this Ravenous Flock. Either one, either way, the Gangplank is dying. Should another spell come out to try and save it.
Yeah, I like the trade, even though he does take a little bit of damage. I like the trade. I like that he takes out the Gangplank as soon as he can. Even if the Sejuani comes in next, which, yeah, it should be able to come in the next turn. It's still such a nice takeaway from Turtlebot.
Yeah, and now we see Rorox Kills has the Bandle Tree in hand, and he's not going to play for. He's not going to go for the play of yet. He's going to go for this other unit first, and it's really interesting because now he doesn't have enough mana for the Bandle Tree to come out, which means he's just going to keep delaying that unit generation. Instead, he's going to go for another unit on the board.
Quite a lot of units there, not gonna lie, but still not the Sejuani. I was really thinking that the Sejuani was going to come through, maybe trying to bait something out before putting out the Sejuani, but there's not enough. I don't think there's a lot of huge cards that you would be worried about, even if you didn't have the Sejuani.
Yeah, I don't know why the Sejuani didn't come out. I think he's just waiting for it to be his attack turn to use it. But I like you said, I still don't understand how you benefit from that besides being able to utilize the vulnerable on your attack. Besides that, I mean, there's not really anything else you gain from this. I mean, you're going to lose a little bit of health, but I think you're still in a much better position than Rorox Kills, since you have this Sejuani in hand. There's not really anything left in Rorox Kills' hand that can threaten this Sejuani. The only thing that Rorox Kills can do at this point is play the Bandle Tree and just try and get the last few cards that he needs to get the auto win.
So it feels like it will be survive until you can use that, until that comes into full effect.
Oh, so he actually went for the Kennen spell. So the Kennen spell recalled the Aloof Travelers, and next turn, if the Sejuani does not come out on open, the Aloof Travelers can go for the discard.
Okay, so trying and make it so that maybe he can take away the GP or the Sedge or another Sedge, right?
Yeah, he's gonna try and take away another GP or Sejuani. The only problem is that I think Turtlebutt knew. I think Turtlebutt was expecting something to happen with the recall or a potential recall and the Aloof Travelers coming out. But now he's just gonna go for the Sejuani. He's going to get the play. He's gonna get it on the board. The downside is Rars pulled a mini morph, which means the Sejuani is no longer a Sejuani. It's got to come out right now.
Legendary mini morph.
Legendary indeed.
I really like that card when it can get so much value like in this moment against the Sejuani if he does end up using it, right?
Mm-hmm. No, exactly.
Maybe it's yeah. I was
it
thinking
has to come out. There's no reason for you to leave the Sejuani on the board.
I was thinking that he waits just he waits for the moment that the Sejuani wants to go for the attack and then use its spot.
I mean, the Sejuani went for the attack, and
yeah, no, he did use it. So I'm completely okay with this play. Like just deny that Sejuani and now try and deny the potential next one, if possible.
Yeah, and yeah, he went for it, and if he doesn't pull one, it's gonna be very unfortunate. It looks like he discarded the yeah, he discarded a black market merchant. And you hate to see it, but again, he's still now too low of mana to get the Bandle Tree out. He's just delaying his win.
Yeah, like he's trying to make it so that Turtlebot cannot get his win condition. That in the meanwhile he's denying his own well not denying but delaying his own win condition longer than he probably needs to.
Yeah, I think the Kennen's dead here, and he's going to use the Kennen's Mark of the Storm to clear this lurker, but there's bigger problems than the the Xerxai hatchling. There's no more lurk cards in Turtle Butt's deck. I mean, it's not like he's going to get any lurk onto the hatchling. It's still just going to be a 1/1 fearsome. But
Well,
if
you
they
never
can,
know. Rek'Sai comes from below a lot, so who knows, right?
I don't know how far below Rek'Sai is going to come today, especially since we're not in Shurima or Turtle
Yeah.
does not have in Shurima. But I mean, I'm curious where Rawrox Kills is in terms of his level up for the Bandle tree. I mean, he has. I would have to imagine he has most of the cards. He's still missing Shurima to be played as a unit. He's still missing um at least Demacia, I think. Yeah, he hasn't pulled. Oh, well, there's the pop. There's the Demacia, but he's still missing, I think, 2 or 3 regions.
Like the only thing that it's making now for Aurora Kill is the fact that there's no Sejuani or GPS still being pulled, so he still has time now. Thanks to that, he's
Mhm.
2 away. Yeah, he's 2 away if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so 2 rounds. Roblox kills us to survive for 2 rounds to be able to win the game. And I mean, Turtlebutt is basically drawn out. He has no cards in his hand. He's got Rockfall Path and a warning shot. I'm curious, does Rockfall Path destroy a landmark?
I think not, but I don't wanna say yes. I would like, I would like if possible confirmation, but I think it doesn't.
All right. Well, I mean, we'll find that out. But he's in a really good position. I mean, he's managed to stall this game out so long. He's managed to take care of the Sejuani. He's lucked out in not having to deal with a gangplank yet. He just has to survive basically the next round, and it will be just game over.
Will we be able to, like you're saying, the fact that the GP hasn't come out, and even the potential next journey either. So it just feels like it's all set up for that, for Rora Kills to be able to win,
Mm.
but at the same time, just one turn may turn that completely on its head.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that it could turn it completely on its head, but at this point, Roderick's Kills has lucked out a lot. I mean, the Yordle Mayor creating this scout card in hand, it's going to force something to block. I would imagine it's going to force the Yordle Grifter, but no, it's just going to get a free attack.
Yeah,
Wait,
no. Wait,
a free
actually,
attack? Why would it
no.
just why would it just get a free attack? And now you're going to lose units without having traded them out for anything.
Pretty much just making it even harder now. Even if the GP search comes through, like there's still such a good chance that with the clear that he got, that Rock Hills got, like it's not going to
Mm-hmm.
matter.
Yeah, that's very very curious. I mean, yeah, is Tarek really or Targon really the last region he needs? He has to still need Shurima. Okay, so he just made another
Yeah.
Targon card twice on a coin flip. So the last region I would imagine is Shurima.
Okay, this is way too like this is way too close for comfort. I feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely cutting it a little bit close, but thanks to this Lunari Priestess, he's going to just keep creating more cards, and he's going to get the
Oh,
draw
the
from the
stick.
messenger, as well as the pokey stick. So the pokey stick I think has to go on to. Oh,
Oh, he's going on Nexus.
no, it can't. It can't. With the Zap Spray Fin, the 2 warning shots is lethal next turn. Oh wait, no, he's attacked. He's attacked. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
he
wait.
has attack.
I looked away for a second. He's already attacked. All right. This is so close. So close.
But I think Royal Hills has it on the next one.
I mean, he has to because the only thing it's going to summon is the last one he needs, since he's summoned a Targon unit now. This is so difficult to watch. I mean, the 2 warning shots could be big, but there's nothing else really in that deck that can deal damage to the Nexus on a spell.
I think we call it here. I really
No.
think we call it
Oh
here.
yeah. Oh wait, no. We just call it here. We have impact. It's game.
Yeah, I think it's calling it here. It was a good attempt. Like it was so close. Realistically, it was so
hmm
so close.
No, it was. Oh, he's going for the BM. Oh, don't do him like that. We're gonna go down to 1-1 before we see anyone take the win
Before it's
here.
over.
He's going with the impact as the last unit too. All right, we'll just be going to the next game here.
Yeah.
Rodrock's taking the first game without even needing the Bandle tree, which was very, very surprising. I expected him to have to force the Bandle tree play to take this win, but he just lucked out and only had to dealing with one Sejuani from Turtlebutt.
Yeah, I think one Sejuani and one Gangplank, right? Like it wasn't that much that was actually you that we actually saw from Turtlebot. So pretty well played, I think, by Rara Kills. Certainly, I think that utilizing the amount of units that he had, because like you're saying, no Bandle tree win condition was met. Instead, it was just setting up cheap attacks consistently until we had enough units that it just matters so much.
Yeah, and now we're going to see the Poke City come out from Rarok's kills back into the Gangplank Sejuani. So a, still a very, very good open for Turtle, but the Jagged Butcher, the Crackshot Corsair, the Black Market Merchant, and the Make It Rain, but equally good open for Rarok's kills. I mean, the Inventive Chemist is going to be a really good opening attack, and then leading into the Stone Stacker for turn 2, just going to be a really good start here.
I think both have not ideal, but really good situations to start up. And I think that we can see a lot of power in this turn.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're gonna see. I think this is the right play from Rock here: is attack and force Turtlebutt to decide whether he wants to block with the crack shot or not. And basically, you just get free 2 damage because I think Turtlebutt values the Corsair's ability here a little, not too much, but more so than the 2 health in this early stages of the game.
It's I think I think it's an okay start, so
Now, curiously, he didn't
cannot
go
that
for the
much.
Black Market Merchant, which I probably would have preferred to see, just so you can start taking some of these cards from Raw Rock kills and look to generate a little more value in your hand. But the Jagged Butcher will be a force to be reckoned with on this block here. I mean, the impact is still going to be something that goes through no matter what, but you got to go for a wider board here, I think, if you're a Turtle
Does he
Butt.
want does he want to maybe trade? So potentially just trade one of those cards to try and brittle down on what he has on board already from Boro Kills.
If your Raw kills, you just attack with the Stone Stacker and get the impact off, and then you deal with whatever happens the next turn. The Jagged Butcher being a 3/3 is very, very good for a Turtle Butt, just so he can preserve the board presence. Um, but he's gonna need to start looking for some really, really powerful cards here. He needs to start finding the GP and the Sejuani, because he's going to need to be able to like get that win condition set up. Otherwise, he will just die to the poke from Poke City. I mean, he managed to steal the Yordle Lecture, which I think is really good for his his plunder, because the knock or the toxic shock is able to strike the Nexus directly, which basically guarantees your plunder. The only downside is the Yordle Lecture can only generate it on an attack turn. And we're gonna see the attack here come out from Turtlebutt, and I think I would have preferred to see him
I thought.
challenge the
Sorry.
the keg with the Yordle Lecture, just so you can guarantee that it preserves that 5 health, so you can keep generating these not or toxic shots. But instead, he's just not going to get blocked at all, which is inversely interesting.
Yeah, I thought he was going to use the pogo also to the stick to just kill the Jack Butcher. I thought that he was going to just use it there because yeah, the health is okay, but I think that it would be more ideal to just take out the Jack Butcher, right? The Jack,
I mean,
yeah, that.
it would have been interesting to take out the Jagged Butcher. Curiously enough, he went for the Nexus and drew a Monster Harpoon, so he could have tried to Monster Harpoon the Yordle Lecture last turn, but instead we're just going to see him hold on to that card just because of how much power it has to be able to instantly clear a GP off the board is going to be undoubtedly more valuable than killing this Yordle Lecturer. But Turtlebutt's still not able to find either of the two champions he needs.
What are the chances that last game and this game he still cannot find the GP and the Sedge? Like it's been so long since I've seen a pull from GP and Sedge from Turtlebot.
I mean, we saw one of each last game, and we haven't seen any of
And
them this game.
since yeah,
That's it.
and
That's been it.
super. I feel so unlucky.
Now the good thing for Rorock's kills though is that he still has the GP and he's doing the slow burn damage. Oh, and the Make It Rain gonna clear out the last two units on Rorock's kills board, which should give him a fairly decent attack next turn. 6 damage to the Nexus. Oh, nope, 3 damage to the Nexus next turn on open, thanks to this Pokey Stick. But
But it's still feel like kind of from last. It's still once again really close. Like we with how much we've seen, it's still a lot of uh, small damage being traded between the two. Now with the Twisted Fate and the GP on hand for Rora kills, we may see a difference in finally being able to set up for yourself. But it's still really closer than maybe we would have seen at start. At start.
I mean, the fact that Turtlebot's been able to not just like stay even or like close behind, he's actually in the lead in terms of Nexus health and in terms of cards on board, which definitely is where you would want to be against one of these Poke City decks. But he's gonna need to find he has to find that GP or he has to find that Sejuani to really close this game out, because we do see in Raw hands now he has the Gangplank and the TF, so it's just going to be a matter of time before he gets both of those units out on the board and just starts basically whole board clearing Turtlebut's hand.
Yeah, it should be just a matter of turns. Pretty much, I don't want to say seconds, turns. It makes much more sense. And after that, Turtlebot still without the luck to be able to get the GP or the Sedge, or without the pulls to get the GP or the Sedge. Like it's still hard for him, but this attack seems to be promising actually.
Yeah, this attack should deal 2, 4, 5, 6 with impact. So this should deal 6 damage to the Nexus. There's not really any other way to get around this. He's going to actually lose the TF as well. But this, as well as, well, I was going to say with the Toxic Shock, but there's no more mana. So 6 damage to the Nexus is an insane start right now, because he's going to keep 3 units on the board still as well, which means he still has the board presence. And next turn, there's only the Gangplank that's going to be able to come out. And I don't think the Gangplank's leveled up yet.
Yeah, I think he isn't actually. Like you're saying, he probably make it rain now to clear out a little bit. So maybe it can stop anything from Turtlebot. But apart from the GP and that, like there's not much chance. Okay, it is actually level up.
Okay, so this is actually a good start for Rorock's kills here, now that he has the Gangplank leveled up, because this is going to be how he's going to get like board control back, because of the Gangplank ability on attack. The downside is that Turtlebot, I don't know, I don't think he can. He has to pull a Monster Harpoon here and then Warding Shot to clear the Gangplank, and he hasn't found the Monster Harpoon. And he still only has 5 minutes, so he can't even play the Sejuani to try and deny. So he has to kind of just eat this.
Will it be? I think it's not, right. I think it's not lethal.
No, it shouldn't
It's
be
not.
lethal.
Yeah,
It should be 8 damage to the Nexus with nothing that Turtlebot can do about it. I mean, technically he could have dropped the Yordle Grifter, which has 3 health, and it would have survived through the barrel keg and then dealt 3 damage to the Gangplank and blocked 1, but it still wouldn't have survived past the round, which is always a difficult thing to deal with.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna see it drop here actually, which should, I think the line that Turtle's going for is he's dropped the Yordle Grifter this turn obviously, and he's going to go for the Sejuani next turn, and then pull the Gangplank with the Grifter and let Sejuani strike through, which should be lethal. I don't think there's a way you can get out of this. Maybe. Okay, so yeah, the Make It Rain will come out, and this will deal 2 to the Nexus and 2 to each of those units, which will put it in range of the Monster Hunter. And yeah, and he has another one, but he has to Monster Hunter here onto the Sejuani to guarantee that he can live through this round and even go into the next one. And when he gets to this next one, all he needs to do is attack and get the Gangplank ability to proc.
I hate how close this ended up to turn out. Like once
Jeez.
again, from the last
Doesn't
game, it's turning out to be so close, much more than necessary.
it doesn't feel like a best of two or
Yeah.
not? It doesn't feel like a 2-0 series. It definitely feels like we've gone quite a bit of distance here. Oh, you hate to see it. The the Dragon Chow is the Mirai Warden sudden summon. But yeah, this is going to be the lethal here. Gangplank is going to attack. The skill's going to proc. It's going to be nothing you can do to block that damage.
Yeah, it was a really good attempt by Turtlebot. I think that
Oh, but
he
we
did
get to see 2 warning shots come out first.
once again. I think we're accustomed to that already from the previous game as well. But yeah,
Mhm.
really good. I think really close to games like you're saying. The 2-0 doesn't showcase how close this actually was
Yeah.
for both of the games. It was
Mhm.
really interesting from both sides, and I really think that honestly, Turtlebot could have taken it away if he's just a little bit luckier with his GP and Sejuani. I know that people don't like that we called so much the luck, but the lack of Sejuani and GP from Turtlebot was really sad. Because if he could have gotten a better draw some of those times, he probably could have turned out better turns and better possibility to win.
No, definitely. I mean, it unfortunately came down to who was able to pull the champion first in that
Yeah.
second game. I mean, there was still so much playing done to get around like the deficits that both players were at. I mean, it was just so unfortunate that it came down to what they were top decking at the very end of the game. I mean,
Yep.
uh Turtlebot wasn't really able to find the champions. He was able to find the Sejuani, and he almost turned that into his win. But but Raw Rock's kills was he was able to find the monster harpoon. He was able to find 2 make it rains, and basically just guaranteed his ability to not just clear the Sejuani, but keep his Gangplank alive to go into that final attack and win.
Yep, doing a really nice job
Mhm.
utilizing the resource that he had at the end, and even though it was close, like he maneuvered around that closeness well enough and ended up
Mhm.
taking out the win. And I'm pretty sure it's not yet the series, but taking out at least his match win away.
Yeah, always a nice thing to see here. I mean, it just the overall the matches tonight have just been so close. I mean, the Lee Sin matchup earlier in the night was basically the last turn or the last card
Yeah.
played decided the win. The series we just watched was down to the wire. A lot of really good Legends of Runeterra tonight, and it's not going to be the end. I mean, we still have to wait to see how both of these teams turn out, but it will be the end of this stream. So thank you all for tuning in. My name was Domcast. That was TDS. We've been your casters for tonight in the Legends of Runeterra tournament, brought to you by Runeterra Academy and metafy. Thank you all for tuning in, and see you next time.